SAO is a huge disappointment. The writing is all over the place. The story just jumps from one random event to the next without any real thought or build-up. The characters in SAO are super bland and lack any real depth. They feel more like static archetypes than fully fleshed out individuals, making it really hard to connect with them. There's very little growth or change, and that makes it tough to care about anyone's journey. You're not invested in their struggles because their personalities and decisions don't feel authentic or meaningful, which makes the emotional moments fall flat as well. The pacing is a mess too. Time skips are everywhere, and it completely messes with the flow of the story. You blink, and suddenly months have passed, leaving you scrambling to catch up. It kills any connection to what's going on. SAO had so much potential, but it ended up falling flat. It's infuriating to watch, especially knowing it could have been so much better if a more skilled writer had been behind it. The story has so much untapped potential, but it gets wasted with lazy writing and weak character development. If the plot and characters had been handled by someone with actual talent, SAO could have been a masterpiece. Instead, it's a frustrating mess that leaves you thinking about how much better it could have been, but never delivers. It's hard to ignore how badly it falters when it could have been so much more. Furthermore, if you're someone who actually plays MMOs, you're going to be pretty frustrated because the game design and gaming culture in the show are a terrible representation of real-life MMO experiences. The way the game mechanics work is super unrealistic, and it's clear the creator didn't put much thought into how these games actually function. It feels like they took some basic concepts and just ran with it, without any understanding of what makes MMOs so unique and fun. It's hard to take the in-game world seriously when it's so far removed from what actual players experience. Overall, SAO is just a bad anime. There are so many better alternatives out there that it's hard to understand why people willingly watch it. Honestly, I'd rather watch the live-action Snow White movie 100 times in a row than sit through SAO again. Additionally, the SAO community is incredibly toxic and unwelcoming. They constantly attack and harass anyone who doesn't worship the show, dismissing any legitimate criticisms as if it's impossible for anyone to dislike it. The fanbase is so defensive and close-minded, believing that SAO is the best anime of all time and that no one should question its perfection. It creates an environment where differing opinions are met with hostility rather than healthy discussion. Stay away from SAO's toxic fanbase if you value your sanity. Don't even bother interacting with SAO fans. They'll just make you dumber. The level of blind praise and hostility towards anyone with a different opinion is off the charts, and it's not worth your time. Engaging with them only drags you into pointless arguments that get you nowhere. It's better to just steer clear and save yourself the frustration. If you're looking for a great show where the main character gets transported to another world, check out I've Been Killing Slimes for 300 Years and Maxed Out My Level. It's such a fun and wholesome fantasy series. The story is lighthearted, with plenty of charm, and it balances humor and heart in a way that makes it super enjoyable to watch. It's the kind of show that leaves you feeling good. This show is better than SAO in every possible way. Let's break down why. First, we'll start with a quick plot breakdown, then dive into the reasons why it completely outshines SAO.
A woman named Azusa kills slimes for centuries and she becomes extremely powerful. In this video, I'll break down and explain the I've Been Killing Slimes for 300 Years and Maxed Out My Level anime series. The anime begins with Azusa working herself to death. Azusa is reincarnated as an ageless and immortal witch in a new world. Azusa is able to read the language, and she receives a free house. Azusa plans to live an easy and peaceful life. Azusa kills slimes, and she receives magical stones to sell for income. Azusa goes to the Adventurers Guild in a nearby village. Azusa registers and finds out that she's level 1. Azusa also makes medicine and sells it in the village. There's a time skip of 300 years. Azusa is now known as the Witch of the Highlands. Azusa measures her level, and it turns out that she's level 99, which is the highest level. Azusa doesn't want people to find out the truth, since her relaxing life will be over. However, a bunch of adventurers visit Azusa, and they intend to test their skills against her. Azusa easily beats all of the adventurers. A dragon named Laika comes to challenge Azusa, and they fight. Laika accidentally destroys Azusa's house. Laika transforms into her human form, which is a little girl. She gives Azusa money to repair her house. Laika asks to be Azusa's pupil so that she can learn to become stronger. Azusa accepts her. Laika builds a much bigger house. Azusa and Laika create a barrier around the village for protection. A little girl named Falfa comes to visit Azusa, and she calls her Mama. Falfa mentions that her little sister Shasha wants Azusa dead. It's revealed that Falfa and Shasha are made out of the souls of dead slimes. Azusa's magic doesn't work on Shasha. Laika protects Azusa, and she defeats Shasha. Shasha focused all of her magic on Azusa, so she's super weak against everyone else. Shasha's magic has run out, and she can't use it again for several decades. Falfa and Shasha decide to live happily and enjoy their lives. Azusa invites them to live with her. Falfa and Shasha inform Azusa about evil slimes. The light-colored slimes are evil, and Shasha is fine with Azusa killing them. An elf girl named Halkara comes to Azusa's house. She's being hunted by the demon Beelzebub Beelzebub and wants Azusa to protect her. Hakura created an energy drink called Nutri-Spirit. Beelzebub drank the Nutri-Spirit, but something in it turned out to be poisonous to demons. Beelzebub thinks that Hakura poisoned her. Azusa agrees to help Hakura, and she puts a barrier around the house to prevent Beelzebub from getting in. However, there's a fly inside the house, which turns out to be Beelzebub. Azusa is about to fight Beelzebub, but she accidentally touches the barrier and passes out before the battle even begins. Beelzebub regains consciousness later, and she explains that the Nutri-Spirit didn't make her sick. She got too much energy and overworked herself. Beelzebub came looking for Hakura because she wanted her to make more Nutri-Spirit. The characters travel to Laika's home to attend her older sister Layla's wedding. A rival dragon clan of blue dragons comes to crash the wedding. The blue dragons are led by Flatort. She's jealous because Layla is getting married before her. The red and blue dragons fight each other. Azusa defeats all the blue dragons and she scares them away. Azusa and Laika go to the nearby village. They find Beelzebub draining the blue dragon's magic. Flatort transforms into her human form. Azusa forces Flatort to sign a treaty between the red and blue dragons so they never fight again. Afterwards, the characters go to Layla's wedding ceremony. There's a ghost in Hakura's new factory and nobody wants to work there. Azusa is terrified of ghosts, so she summons Beelzebub for assistance to get rid of the ghost. Azusa, Hakura, and Beelzebub go into the factory at night. Beelzebub makes the ghost show herself. She's a girl named Rosalie. Centuries ago, Rosalie's parents sold her off, but Rosalie's house used to be where this factory is, so she's stuck here. Beelzebub says that if a ghost possesses someone, then they'll be able to go where that person goes. Rosalie possesses Hakura, and she goes to Azusa's house. Rosalie is unable to get out of Hakura's body, and it might kill her. Rosalie drinks alcohol, and she immediately passes out. Hakura regains control of her body. Beelzebub throws Hakura into the cold bathtub, and Rosalie jumps out. Rosalie decides to live in Azusa's house. Hakura is able to finally hire workers. Beelzebub congratulates Azusa for winning the Demon Medal of Honor since she ended the conflict between the red and blue dragons. Azusa accepts the prize, and the ceremony will take place in the demon realm. Beelzebub takes the characters to the awards ceremony on a Leviathan. There's a luxury hotel on the back of the Leviathan, and they stay there during the trip. The group arrives at the demon capital, and they meet the Demon King, who turns out to be a little girl named Provat Pekra Alliers. Hakura accidentally headbutts Provat, and she knocks her unconscious. Hakura gets arrested, and she receives the death penalty. Provat can overrule the law, so Azusa comes up with a plan to wake her up. Azusa creates a tea made from bitter herbs. Azusa is about to pour the tea into Provat's mouth, but she suddenly wakes up since her body sensed a threat. Provat believes that Azusa was trying to poison her. Provat challenges Azusa to a duel. Azusa destroys Provat's sword, and she agrees to give Hakura a full pardon. Provat wants someone stronger than her, and she declares that Azusa is her big sister. Provat requests Azusa to call her Pekara from now on. Pekara awards medals to Azusa, Laika, and Flatort. Additionally, Pekara orders Flatort to allow Azusa to touch her horns. Flatort must now obey Azusa. The characters return home. Flatort comes to live with them. Laika and Flatort argue with each other a lot. Falfa and Shalsha think that it's because they haven't eaten any fresh meat in a while. Someone from the Adventurers Guild comes and explains that there's a boar outbreak in the nearby forest. The characters go to the forest and they kill several boars. They cook the boar meat and eat together. Azusa finds out that someone is impersonating her. Azusa and Laika discover the fake witch, but she runs away. Azusa catches the woman, and she transforms into a little girl named Eno. She explains that she makes her own medicine and wants people to know her, but at the same time, she also doesn't want people to recognize her. It's a contradiction. Eno decides to become an idol girl while selling her medicine. Falfa turns into a slime. Nobody knows how to change her back. Azusa summons Beelzebub for help. She says that they should ask Intelligent Slime for answers. Intelligent Slime isn't sure how to change Falfa back into a human, but orders the group to find Magician Slime in the nearby mountain. Magician Slime tells the characters to ask Fighter Slime for assistance. She's currently participating in a fighting tournament, so Azusa and Beelzebub join the tournament as well. Beelzebub beats Fighter Slime, and she restores Falfa to her human form. Azusa and Beelzebub fight each other in the final round to settle their old score. Azusa wins the fight. Fighter Slime wants to become Azusa's student, but she changes her mind when she sees all the slimes that Azusa has killed. Fighter Slime becomes Beelzebub's student instead. A musician named Shifanoya comes to town to perform. The townspeople don't like her music. Shifanoya loses consciousness, and Azusa uses a spell to bring her back. Shifanoya is really hungry, and Azusa takes her home. Shifanoya introduces herself and mentions that her real name is Cuckoo. Cuckoo wants to give up on music, but Azusa encourages her to keep going if she still loves making music. Flatort suggests Cuckoo try a new style. She writes a song based on Azusa and the other characters. Beelzebub comes, and Cuckoo sings her new song. Beelzebub likes the song, and she wants Cuckoo to perform at the next Demon Music Festival. The event goes well, and Cuckoo gets many offers to perform form and other events. The characters have a mushroom grilling party. Azusa eats a poisonous mushroom that turns her into a child. Hakura can't find a way to change Azusa back. Azusa summons Beelzebub for help. She takes her to Pekora, who explains that there's a pharmacist at the top of a massive world tree far away from here. Azusa goes to the top floor of the world tree. The pharmacist gives Azusa medicine made by Eno. Azusa takes the medicine and she returns back to normal. The town is preparing for a festival. Azusa decides to open a coffee shop called the Witch's House. Azusa buys uniforms for all the characters. Then they come up with a menu and set up the coffee shop. The coffee shop opens early since there's a long line of people waiting. Many of the previous characters visit the coffee shop to help out. The coffee shop is a big success and Azusa thanks everyone. Finally, the anime ends with the characters planning to visit the festival the next night. And that's the I've been killing slimes for 300 years and maxed out my level anime series explained. A second season has been announced, but there's currently no official release date yet. Which movie or anime should I do next? Leave a suggestion. Check out some of the other videos on this channel. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a future upload. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.
As you can see, I've been killing slimes for 300 years, and Maxed Out My Level is a fantastic show. It's fun, lighthearted, and full of charm, making it a refreshing change from the usual action-packed fantasy stories. Instead of focusing on high-stakes battles or dramatic conflicts, it takes a more relaxed approach, highlighting everyday adventures and the bonds between characters. What makes it so enjoyable is its wholesome and uplifting atmosphere. The characters are likable, the humor is well balanced, and the story never takes itself too seriously. It's the kind of show that's perfect when you just want something fun and easy to watch, offering a mix of comedy, heartwarming moments, and a unique take on the fantasy genre. The animation style is smooth and easy on the eyes, making every scene enjoyable to watch. The character designs are especially charming, with expressive faces and a cute, colorful aesthetic that adds to the show's lighthearted feel. Everything comes together to create a visually appealing experience that perfectly matches the show's fun and wholesome tone. The world building is great as well. It's always exciting to explore a well-crafted fantasy setting in these kinds of shows, and this one does a fantastic job of making the world feel alive. From the landscapes to the small details in the towns and magic systems, everything feels thoughtfully designed, adding depth and immersion to the story. The writing is solid, and everything flows naturally. There are no glaring plot holes or moments that leave you scratching your head in confusion. The story is well structured, with consistent logic and well-thought-out events that make it easy to stay engaged from start to finish. The community is also really friendly and welcoming. Fans of the show are supportive, open to discussion, without the toxicity you see in some other fandoms. It's a great space for anyone looking to talk about the series without dealing with unnecessary drama.
SAO, on the other hand, is dull and uninspired. It lacks any real excitement or charm, making it a chore to sit through. The story drags, the characters are lifeless, and there's nothing engaging about the way it unfolds. Instead of being an enjoyable experience, it feels like a shallow, emotionless slog that fails to capture any real sense of adventure or intrigue. There's nothing worthwhile about SAO, and it's not worth anyone's time. The story is a mess, the characters are bland, and the pacing is all over the place. It fails at everything it tries to do, and there are so many better shows out there. People should skip it entirely and watch something that actually respects its audience. I've been killing slimes for 300 years, and Maxed Out My Level is miles better than SAO in every way. It's fun, wholesome, and well written, making it a much more enjoyable experience. If you're looking for a great fantasy anime, skip SAO and watch this instead. You won't regret it. Now, let's talk about some other anime where the characters get transported to another world. Not all of them are perfect, but they're all definitely a step up from SAO. Whether they focus on adventure, comedy, or world building, they handle the premise in a way that's far more engaging and well executed.
So I just watched Kimono Mei Rise Up, and I thought it was a mixed bag. There's a lot to like about this anime, but there's plenty to dislike as well. Here's my review of Kimono Mei Rise Up. There will be some spoilers, but nothing too major. Let's begin with the story. Kimono Mei Rise Up was written by the same author as Konosuba, and it definitely felt very similar in terms of tone. It's really funny and there were lots of hilarious scenes. Although the big problem is that they would repeat the same exact jokes over and over again, and it kind of got stale and unfunny as it went on. Like there's this joke where Shigure steals another guy's sword and sells it to the pawn shop. That was quite comical the first time, but then it happened like 5 more times, and it lost its charm for me. Another gag that the show kept repeating would be all the shots. Like, I get it, it's definitely amusing the first time it happened, don't get me wrong, but not so much in the 9th or 10th time. It felt kind of awkward and unnecessary at that point. It was like they were just trying to shoehorn in some more fan service, instead of actually making it relevant to the plot. Furthermore, I felt that the show didn't have a real sense of purpose. Stuff just happened and then more unrelated stuff happened, and it didn't seem very connected. It was more like a bunch of short clips stitched together, rather than one coherent and consistent story. Moreover, there was barely any chemistry between the characters. They had vastly different personalities and goals. I honestly don't even know why they stuck together this whole time. They constantly got into fights and arguments, and they couldn't even have a proper conversation without getting angry at one another. On a more positive note, I do like how this whole anime felt more like a parody or satire. A bunch of the common tropes you would expect from an isekai anime are made fun of, and your expectations will surely be subverted. Instead of fighting and defeating monsters, the protagonist Genzo would befriend the monsters and play with them, although that kind of stunt does also get old and repetitive as the show goes on, unfortunately. Next up, characters. The characters were okay. I can't say I love them, but I didn't hate them either. They really only have one personality trait, and while it was entertaining to watch them at first, it did get dull as the show went on, because there's literally no character development at all in this anime. Furthermore, the main character Genzo is way too overpowered. He easily defeats all his enemies without breaking a sweat, and he never gets hurt, not even so much as a scratch or bruise. I get that this is meant to satirize the typical overpowered isekai protagonist, but it was tedious to watch him because you already know that he's not gonna lose. Also, I wasn't a huge fan of Genzo's emo haircut. The other characters weren't very memorable either. As I said before, they only have one defining personality trait, so it wasn't very interesting to continue seeing that over and over again. Like the jokes in the anime, it was funny the first time, but not so much seeing the same exact thing being repeated again and again. I did enjoy how this wasn't a harem anime, like most of the other isekai anime out there. While the main character Genzo is surrounded by several beautiful and cute girls, he doesn't have any romantic feelings towards them at all. He only loves animals, and the girls don't have any romantic feelings towards Genzo either. If this was any other isekai anime, the girls would be all over Genzo, so it was a nice breath of fresh air to see something different this time. That being said, one complaint I do have is about the villains. The villains in this anime were complete idiots. They were so stupid and foolish it was hard to take them seriously, which is probably the point, but still. For example, there's a subplot where the villains try to steal Genzo's dog, but they already tried that and failed the first time. Even if they were successful this time, did they seriously not think that Genzo would go after them when he found out? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Let's move on to the art and animation. So Kimono Mei Rise Up was animated by a studio called NG. This is actually the first anime they've done, so I don't have anything to compare it to, but the animation overall looked good. It's not the best animation I've ever seen, but it's certainly far from bad, especially because this is the studio's first anime. The character designs in particular were great. There's plenty of different races of beings in this fantasy world, like wolf people, cat girls, half-dragon people, vampires, and orcs, and it was nice to see that variety. Additionally, there's tons of different breeds of animals in this fantasy world, so it was interesting to see that as well. There's not a lot of actual fight scenes in this anime, but whenever they did happen, I thought the animation was fantastic. It really got you absorbed into the show, and you could feel every blow and hit that the characters took. Lastly, there's the sound. The voice acting is alright. It's not terrible, but not that great either. I watched the first 10 episodes of this anime in the English dub, because there were only 10 episodes available in the English dub, then the final 2 episodes in Japanese. I personally prefer the English dub, and I felt that the English dub voice actors' voices better fit the characters that they were portraying. I liked Tyson Reinhardt as the main character, Genzo Shibata. Everyone else was kind of just bland. They were certainly doing what they could, but they didn't stand out to me. You could literally replace all the other voice actors, and I don't think I would even notice a big difference. I actually quite enjoyed the opening song. It got you pumped up and excited for what's about to come. Although I did find it a bit creepy how the characters would look directly towards the camera at the last scene. The ending song was passable, not bad, but I've seen better. I'm gonna give Kimono Mei Rise Up a 5.5 out of 10. The positives do outweigh the negatives for me, but not by a lot. If this show sounds interesting to you and you're a fan of isekai anime, then I would suggest trying it out and maybe you'll find some enjoyment out of it. If you don't like isekai anime, then you probably also won't like this anime either. And you're really not missing out on too much if you don't watch it. There's definitely much better isekai anime out there. Well, that's it for my review of Kimono Mei Rise Up. What did you think of this anime? Let me know your opinion in the comments below. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. So I just watched School Prodigies Have It Easy Even in Another World, and I thought it was decent. It's been getting a lot of mixed reviews, but I found it to be fairly enjoyable overall, despite its many shortcomings. Here's my review of School Prodigies Have It Easy Even in Another World. It will have some spoilers, but nothing too major. Let's start with the story. I thought it was interesting how this show focused on a group of characters transported to another world, instead of 1 or 2 characters. Usually in isekai anime, it's one guy who gets transported to a fantasy world, or maybe 2 like in No Game, No Life. Even when it is a group of people transported to the fantasy world like in Ari Ferretta, the story still primarily focuses on one character, Hajime, so it's cool to see how this anime centered around a group of 7 different characters. That's something you don't normally see. There is quite a lot of suspense suspension of disbelief in this anime. A bunch of stuff doesn't make any sense, and you just kind of have to go along with it regardless. Like in episode 1 we find out that everybody is speaking Japanese, even though they aren't, but somehow everyone is still able to understand each other. Okay, that doesn't make any sense, and they never bother to explain this any further, so whatever. Additionally, I found it strange how the characters were able to modify their smartphones to work in the fantasy world. That also doesn't make a lot of sense. Are there cell towers in the fantasy world too? Because if so, I didn't see any. Also, the characters never charge their phones either, so somehow their smartphones have unlimited batteries as well. Some of this stuff also isn't given a proper explanation. Like, I was curious why Tsukasa's eyes are a different color, because that's not something you see every day. I thought for sure it would be a big part of the story, and there's a reason why his eyes are a different color, but they literally never mention anything about Tsukasa's eyes. Moreover, Prince Akatsuki's magic doesn't make a whole lot of sense. He can do these impossible tricks like making buildings disappear, levitating, and beheading himself, which I assume is just some sort of illusion, but they never reveal how a trick like that would actually work practically. That being said, I did find the world building to be pretty decent. It was cool to learn about the fantasy world and how it worked, and it was amusing to see these high school students use their abilities to take over the world. I liked how each of the characters had their own unique talent, and it was pleasant to see them work together. I thought the show did a good job balancing everything out. Obviously, some characters got more screen time than others, but each of the characters at least got one moment in the spotlight. This anime was written by the same author as Chivalry of a Failed Knight, and if you watch that anime, you would know that there's tons of fan service. There was also quite a lot of fan service in this anime as well, which I certainly didn't expect because it's not classified as an ecchi anime like Chivalry of a Failed Knight. I have nothing against fan service, but to be honest, I felt that the fan service in this anime was misplaced and not very appropriate. They were trying to tell this serious and grounded story, and then suddenly there's a bathing scene for no reason, and then they go back to telling the story, and then there's another bathing scene. There's also a scene where a character is locked up, and they're stripped down to their underwear for some reason. Again, I'm certainly not complaining about the fan service itself. I just feel the fan service in general kind of felt shoehorned in. It didn't seem natural. Also, I thought it was ridiculous how every single female character except Ringo had huge even though they were just high school students. Next up, characters. I thought the characters were good. As I said before, each character has a distinctive skill, so it was intriguing to see how they would use that particular skill in this fantasy world. We only really get a more fleshed out backstory for a handful of the characters, so I certainly would have liked to learn more about some of the other characters as well. Overall, the characters did seem a bit underdeveloped. It was definitely entertaining to watch them, but they didn't experience a lot of character development or growth. Oh, and sometimes characters would disappear from the story altogether, and wouldn't even show up until the final episode, so I think the author could have found a better way to use those characters. I do think that the villains were extremely one-dimensional and forgettable. They were evil for the sake of being evil, and their motivations were pretty weak. Just the generic bad guy tropes you've seen 1,000 times before, like wanting more money, women, and power. Furthermore, the villains are defeated way too easily. There's barely any struggle or conflict between the protagonists and antagonists. Okay, let's move on to the art and animation. I felt that the animation was acceptable. It's not the best animation or anything, but it worked and it looked nice. The character designs were diverse because there's different races of people in the fantasy world, and there are a lot of people in different social classes, so you saw homeless people all the way to royalty. Lastly, we have the sound. I watched the first 7 episodes in the English dub, because there were only 7 episodes available in the English dub, then the last 5 episodes in Japanese. I thought that all the voice actors did a great job. I personally prefer the English dub over the Japanese. I liked how Cassandra Lee Morris was voicing another blonde-haired girl with huge and Kira Buckland was voicing another pink-haired character. Moreover, I found it quite comical how Erica Mendez was voicing 2 different characters, including a male character. The opening and ending songs are passable. It's not great, but not terrible either. Not bad, but I've certainly seen much better. I'm gonna give High School Prodigies Have It Easy Even in Another World a 6.5 out of 10. There are a lot of problems and flaws, but overall I still found this anime to be really enjoyable and I liked all the main characters. If you're a fan of Isekai anime, then I would recommend this anime, and I think you would like it. If you don't like Isekai anime, then you probably also won't like this anime either. I wish they would have explained things better and had more compelling villains, but there's a lot more of the source material they can adapt, so hopefully we'll see an improvement in the second season, if a second season does actually happen. I don't think they've officially announced a second season yet. Well, that's it for this video. What did you think of High School Prodigies Have It Easy Even in Another World? Let me know your opinion in the comments below. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. So we got a bunch of Isekai anime in 2019. I didn't watch all of them, but I did watch a total of 10 of them, and I thought it would be interesting to rank all the 2019 Isekai anime I watched from worst to best. In alphabetical order, here's a list of the 10 2019 Isekai anime that I watched. Number 1, Ari Ferretta From Commonplace to World's Strongest. Number 2, Cautious Hero. The hero is overpowered but overly cautious. Number 3, Demon Lord Retry. Number 4, Didn't I Say to Make My Abilities Average in the Next Life? Number 5, Do You Love Your Mom and Her 2-Hit Multi-Target Attacks? Number 6, High School Prodigies Have It Easy Even in Another World. Number 7, Isekai Cheat Magician. Number 8, Kimono Mei Rise Up. Number 9, The Rising of the Shield Hero. Number 10, Wise Man's Grandchild. My ranking isn't the definitive or right ranking, it's simply just my personal opinion. You're probably gonna disagree with me, which is totally fine, so let me know your rankings for the 2019 Isekai anime you watch in the comments below. Anyways, let's get started. Number 10, Isekai Cheat Magician. Starting off the list, we have Isekai Cheat Magician. This one was by far the most generic and bland out of all the Isekai anime I watched in 2019. It follows the usual tropes and cliches that you would expect from an Isekai anime, and it doesn't do anything new or unique that you haven't seen before in other Isekai anime. The characters are dull and forgettable as well. I honestly don't even remember what the characters' names are. Furthermore, the animation quality was also pretty lackluster, and didn't look that great either. I think the only thing that wasn't terrible about this anime would be the voice acting, which was still not very good and just passable at best. Number 9, Wise Man's Grandchild. I also found Wise Man's Grandchild to be quite unimaginative and uninteresting. Similar to the previously mentioned Isekai Cheat Magician, there's just a lack of creativity here. The protagonist is extremely overpowered from the beginning, and there's not a lot of character development or growth throughout the series. Additionally, the pacing of this anime is very poor. It's hard to understand what's going on, because the story races through important moments at a very quick speed. It felt like this anime was written by a middle schooler. The comedy is also misplaced and ruins serious moments. Number 8, Demon Lord Retry. This show was also really generic, but I did find it to be a bit more interesting than Isekai Cheat Magician and Wise Man's Grandchild. It felt like a combination between Overlord and How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. The protagonist Hakuto is alright. He's certainly a lot more compelling than your typical whiny high school student. I honestly can't quite remember a lot from this anime either, although I do recall that one of the female characters looked exactly like Rem from ReZero, except with blonde hair, and there was another character called Killer Queen, which I'm not sure if that's a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure reference or a reference to the Queen song. Number 7, Do You Love Your Mom and Her 2-Hit Multi-Target Attacks. This anime wasn't that bad actually. I found it to be pretty funny and distinctive. It was an interesting idea to have a mom get transported to a fantasy world along with her son, and I thought it was hilarious how the mom was much higher level and had much better equipment than the son. Ike Yano did a fantastic job voicing the mom. Moreover, this anime definitely felt like a satire or parody of the typical isekai anime you're used to seeing, and I thought the tone was consistent throughout the series. Apart from the distinctive premise though, the anime overall is still pretty generic. Furthermore, the side characters aren't very memorable at all, and the animation quality fell second rate, which is disappointing considering JC's staff was responsible for the animation aspect. Number 6, Kimono Mei Rise Up. From the same author as Konosuba, we have Kimono Mei Rise Up. Once again, this is a pretty unique premise and it's more of a satire or parody, rather than a serious story. I thought the jokes were funny, but the big problem is that they kept repeating the same type of gags over and over again, and it got really boring as the show went on. There's not a lot of actual fight scenes in this anime, but whenever they did happen they were very exciting and thrilling to watch. The animation quality is also not that bad considering this is the studio's first anime. Furthermore, I enjoyed the voice acting and I thought Tyson Reinhardt was excellent as the main character Genzo Shibata. Unfortunately, the characters themselves are extremely one note, and there's not a lot of actual character development in this anime. Number 5, High School Prodigies Have It Easy Even in Another World. This one was pretty decent. I liked how the story focused on a group of characters, rather than one or two characters. It was cool how each of the high school prodigies had a different talent, and it was exciting to see them work together and use their particular talents to take over this fantasy world. I do feel like that some of the things in this anime aren't explained very well, and you kind of have to go along with a bunch of stuff even though it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Additionally, I thought the fan service in this anime was misplaced and not very appropriate. It didn't match the tone that the story was going for. Number 4, Didn't I Say to Make My Abilities Average in the Next Life? Again, this anime was also fairly decent. It does follow a lot of the typical tropes and cliches you're used to seeing in an isekai anime, but it was still fun to watch. It doesn't bring anything new to the table, but I would say that the characters are the best part of this anime. The main character is extremely overpowered, but she has to hide it and pretend like she's normal. The comedy in the show was also hit or miss for me. There were some jokes that were funny and others not so much. The characters in the show constantly made fun of the main character for having a flat chest and small which felt awkward because she's only 12 years old. I did like the animation and all the female characters look cute and adorable. Number 3, Ari Ferretta From Commonplace to World's Strongest. This anime has been getting a lot of hate from a very vocal minority, but I honestly really enjoyed it. Yeah, the CGI animation looks terrible, but apart from that I don't have a lot of other complaints about this anime. I liked all the characters and it was cool to watch them go on their adventures. Additionally, the voice acting is pretty great. I watched this anime in the English dub and I thought the voice actors were fantastic. Matt Shipman was great as the main character Hajime, anime, and Tia Ballard was amazing as Yue. Morgan Guerra was outstanding as the masochist Tio, and lastly I was surprised to find out that Shio was voiced by Amanda Lee, the same person who does all those English covers of anime and video game songs. Number 2, Cautious Hero. The hero is overpowered but overly cautious. This anime was awesome. It totally subverts your expectations, and it's not what you would expect in a good way. There's a big plot twist towards the ending, and I think that was a nice way to explain everything and illustrate why the characters act in a certain way. I found the main character Seiya to be relatable, because whenever I played video games I would also make sure that I was way too overleveled for everything before I actually did it. I watched this anime in the English dub, and I really enjoyed hearing Jamie Marchi as the main female character Restarte. She did an outstanding job delivering her lines, and the jokes overall in this anime were very hysterical. I do feel as if the world itself doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not a video game, but it works exactly like a video game, but that's a relatively small complaint, so I'm able to overlook it. Number 1, The Rising of the Shield Hero. For the winner we have The Rising of the Shield Hero. There's a lot to like about this anime. For example, it was interesting how the main character Naofumi Iwatani was the underdog, and he's constantly unfairly treated by the other characters. He's not overpowered right off the bat similar to a lot of other isekai protagonists. It was exciting to see him grow and develop as a character. The world building in this anime is also really good. It was fascinating to see this fantasy world and how it worked. The fight scenes were phenomenal and the action overall is very impressive, and I enjoyed the side characters such as Raftalia and Philo. It was fun to see them interact with Naofumi. Moreover, the production value of this anime is terrific. The animation quality is magnificent, and I liked all of the opening and ending songs. The voice acting was amazing as well. I watched this anime in the English dub, and I thought that Billy Kametz was phenomenal as the main character Naofumi Iwatani. He also voiced Josuke Higashikata from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond is Unbreakable, and this is a much different role. So yeah, those are my rankings for every isekai anime I watched in 2019. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Number 1, Conception. This one is just plain bad. The characters are generic and forgettable, and I've honestly seen better animation quality than this show. Speaking of, this whole anime feels like the plot of a badly written. There's nothing redeemable about this anime, and I wish you the best of luck if you decide to watch it. I hope you don't lose your sanity. Even the voice acting is extremely lackluster, which is disappointing because the main character was voiced by Yuki Ono, the same guy who voiced Josuke Higashikata from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Diamond is Unbreakable, and Taiga Kagami from Kuroko's Basketball. Number 2, Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody. This anime is also really bad. It's literally just a copy and paste of every other isekai anime you've seen, and it doesn't do anything new or unique. Everything is just so bland and forgettable, from the characters to the story. If you choose to watch this anime, then I'm sure you'll be struggling to stay awake. There's nothing interesting about this anime at all. Even the settings are extremely dull, and the character designs themselves are very lazy and uninspired. The voice acting in this anime is also not good. The main character should have been voiced by someone else, because whoever they got didn't fit the role at all. Watching the show is more of a punishment than something you would do for entertainment. Number 3, Demon Lord Retry. So here we have a ripoff of Overlord and How Not to Summon a Demon Lord. This anime isn't as bad as Conception and Death March to the Parallel World Rhapsody, but it's still far from good. It follows a lot of the typical isekai tropes and cliches that you're used to seeing, and it's boring and predictable overall. The story is quite pointless, and I'm sure you'll end up forgetting what happened in the previous episodes as you're watching the later episodes. The characters don't really have much of a personality. There's literally no character development at all in this anime either. Additionally, the animation quality feels second rate, and the only decent thing about this anime would be the voice acting, which is still just passable and not that great. Number 4, Do You Love Your Mom and her 2-hit multi-target attacks. This anime had a unique premise, but apart from that it's not very good. It's the same old isekai story you've seen countless times before, except with a it. The comedy in the show is also mostly unfunny and poorly timed as well. Moreover, the animation quality of the show is awful. Considering JC's staff was responsible for the animation aspect, I do think that Ike Yano did a good job voicing the mom. But apart from that, there's nothing else that's great about this anime. The characters are extremely bland and forgettable, and the story itself is full of cliches and tropes. If you turn your brain off, you might be able to enjoy the show in a so bad it's good type of mindset, but if you're looking for a serious story, then you'll probably be disappointed and let down. Number 5, End Ride. If I were to describe this anime in one word, it would be shallow. It feels like the story was written by a middle schooler. The characters in the show are hard to like, and they're not very relatable at all. Furthermore, the pacing is also really bad. This show doesn't even start to get interesting until the last few episodes, and there's 24 episodes in total. The animation quality isn't that great either, and I hate to say it, but even the voice acting was pretty bland. It wasn't terrible, but it certainly wasn't very good either. I don't think that End Ride is as bad as some of the other isekai anime mentioned on this list. Number 6, In Another World with My Smartphone. This anime was just awful. The writing is bad, the character designs are generic, the animation quality is poor, the characters themselves are boring, and the story is a big mess. There's literally nothing good about this anime. It's the bottom of the barrel when it comes to Isekai. It might just be the worst one on this entire list. There's not much else I can say about this show, because I honestly don't even remember anything else from this anime. Did I even watch this anime? Like, I'm pretty sure I did, but I forgot everything that happened, which might be for the better, I guess. Number 7, Isekai Cheat Magician. What even happened in this anime? I can't quite remember, which you might have noticed is a common theme among all the Isekai anime on this list. There's not much of a story in this anime, and the plot is just a ripoff of another Isekai anime. I don't know if you can say that this is the worst Isekai anime mentioned so far, but it's definitely the most unmemorable. It's not infuriating to watch like some of the other Isekai anime on this list, but I can't even consider it to be average at best. Number 8, Kimono Mei Rise Up. This anime isn't terrible actually, but it's not very good either. I think it started off fine, but as it went on, it just became more and more dull. They repeat a lot of the same exact jokes and gags in this anime, and it quickly becomes tiresome. Furthermore, there's not a lot of chemistry between the characters, and the characters themselves don't have much of a personality. There's not a real purpose in the story either, and scenes kind of just happen for no reason. The animation quality was alright, and the voice acting is decent, but apart from that, this anime doesn't do much to stand out, which is disappointing considering the author of Konosuba also wrote this story. That being said, this is definitely the most watchable out of all the Isekai anime mentioned so far, and you won't want to tear your hair out after all the episodes are finished. Number 9, The Master of Ragnarok and the Blesser of Einherjar. I'm not sure if this anime copied In Another World with my smartphone, because the main character also has a smartphone, but it's arguably just as bad. It doesn't even make any sense either, and the story overall is very messy. The characters aren't any better, the protagonist is generic and forgettable, and the female characters are poorly written as well. Even the animation quality is bland and uninspired. There's also not much else I can say about this show, because I don't remember anything else. Number 10, Wise Man's Grandchild. Lastly, we have Wise Man's Grandchild. No, I did not save the best for last, because Wise Man's Grandchild is just as bad as the other Isekai anime mentioned in this video. The main character is extremely overpowered right off the bat, so there's not much character development or growth at all. The story is extremely boring and predictable, and the anime overall doesn't bring anything new to the table. If you've seen any other Isekai anime, then there's no reason to watch this one. Furthermore, the comedy in this anime is very cringy and not funny at all. Maybe if you're under 12 years old, you might find some enjoyment out of this anime, but if you're older than 12, then I wouldn't suggest watching this show. Well, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.